Snowies, get on a plane and head west because that's where the winter storms are. And there's one after another, after another, after another. And we'll talk about that pretty amazing winter storm watch statement that I was just reading a little while ago. I will share that with you. And of course, while all that's going on, very warm air is moving into pretty much everywhere east of from the plains eastward to the East Coast. And we'll talk about that too on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. Yes, on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this live stream podcast. And if you use the coupon code I want a weather station, you will get.
Oh, that's my cue, right?
It
10%,
is.
10% off, Joe.
Yes, it is. Good evening, Mr. Rayo.
Hello, Joe, and hi, everybody. All you snow lovers out there who are suffering, guess what? You're going to continue to suffer for a little while longer.
To love is to suffer. To suffer is to love. To not love is to suffer. To suffer is to suffer. You know what movie that's from?
No, what?
Woody Allen, Love and Death.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I've seen a lot of the Woody Allen, movies. I don't think I saw that one though.
It's got its moments. It's pretty funny. Okay, anyway, enough of that. Hi, everybody on the chat board. Welcome to those of you who are lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And we're on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on. Why? Because this way you won't miss a Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And if you like the show, hit the like button because we love it when we go over 100 likes, don't we, Joe?
Yes, we do. Right now, I haven't had a chance to refeed or recycle, so it says only 16 likes here on my counter, but I'm sure that it'll go up.
We're up to 31 likes.
Okay.
At the moment.
Very
All
good.
right, so I have. Let me see. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. So this is a winter storm watch. That's up for the Sierra Nevadas of California. It's Monday night. They have already put up a winter storm watch for early Thursday through Sunday morning. Okay, so there's that, and extremely heavy snow and strong winds possible, bringing whiteout conditions at times. Total snow accumulations of 5 to 12 feet. That's what they're going for, Joe. 5 to 12 feet above 5,000 feet, and accumulations of 1 to 4 feet above 3,000 feet, with lighter accumulations down to 2,000 feet. This is for the west slope of the northern Sierra Nevada, including Interstate 80 and U.S. Highway 50. So those are two roads I think you would like to avoid beginning early Thursday and lasting through this coming Sunday.
Now, Interstate 80 goes over the George Washington Bridge and on through the Delaware Water Gap. Does that mean that if I stayed on 80 all the way out to can I stay on 80 and go all the way out west into the snow zone? Is that
pretty much?
I guess that's right. Yeah. So don't take 80.
Yeah, it's going to be. It is. Unlike last year where it was pretty much one after another for the whole winter. It's been sporadic up until now, but they've gotten into what looks more like a La Nina pattern than an El Nino pattern, and as a result, they're about to get clobbered again with a series of storms. First in the Northwest, which is what we've been seeing the last day or so. And now there's another one coming in, and that's going to go from the Northwest and go all the way down into California and just clobber the mountains there with snow. Amazing. Utterly amazing. It doesn't stop.
And for us, looking, from the east, Looking west, nothing.
Nothing. How warm did you get today?
I believe we got to 54 or 55. I'm not exactly sure, but certainly felt very nice out there. It looks like it's going to be even milder tomorrow. And the most amazing thing to me is that tomorrow night the normal high at this time of the year should be around 47, 48 here in the Hudson Valley, and tomorrow night the low temperature will probably be within a degree or two of 50. So the low is going to be higher than the normal high tomorrow night.
I got to 70 today for the first time since November 9th.
Lovely.
Beautiful day today. Started out at 32, got to 70. Yesterday it started out at 20 and I got to 62. So, but we've got some rain on the way, so that's going to kind of spoil my day tomorrow. All right, let's run around and see what's going on because the watches and warnings map is on the busy side, and you'll see what's going on out in the west. We've got a whole peppering of winter storm warnings up in the Cascades, and now we have winter storm watches up for the Sierra Nevadas and also for the mountains in northwestern California. And that extends also into southwestern Oregon. Sort of just take a quick peek here. What are they doing? What are they looking at in terms of elevation? So this is from Eureka, California, Weather Service office in Eureka, California. And you can see all the winter storm watches that are up for a whole host of places that normally you don't really hear too much about. But let's look at Mount Shasta because that should be interesting. Let's see. Rain and snow. It's too far out in the long range. They got snow Friday night, snow Saturday, a chance of snow Saturday night, and a chance of snow Sunday. So let's see what their winter storm watch has. They are going for heavy snow for elevations above 2,000 feet. That's not that high out there. Total snow accumulations between 4 and 13 inches possible, with winds gusting to 60 miles an hour. So there's that. And we also have warnings up in Utah, western Wyoming, parts of western Montana. The blue up in northwestern Montana is avalanche warnings, and also for northern Idaho. Winter storm warnings up for a bunch of counties in the western half of Colorado. A lot of wind advisories and high wind warnings are up throughout much of the west and also into the plains. Winter storm watches up for a handful of counties in northeastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota, another place where it hasn't snowed much this year. And we've got some wind advisories up for central and western Kentucky, central and western Tennessee, northwestern Mississippi, northeastern Louisiana, eastern Arkansas. So they're just starting to put up. There'll probably be more going forward because the gradient's going to tighten up some uh, over over the next 2 days, but particularly on Wednesday. I don't know if we're going to get to advisory criteria, but it may be close.
And in the nation's midsection, and I wonder if Miss Spallright, I haven't seen her on the chat board, but I wonder whether or not she has taken note of the fact that tomorrow, Joe, a very interesting weather pattern shaping up in the nation's midsection for St. Louis tomorrow. For example, the temperature is going to go from 86 degrees down to 21 by tomorrow night in just 12 hours, as that sharp weather front that will be affecting our area late Wednesday and Wednesday night moves in. But this is a pretty significant, pretty substantial drop in temperature across much of the nation's midsection with that approaching front beginning tomorrow.
No doubt about that. And it's already loading up in the west in terms of the cloud cover and the moisture coming in off the Pacific. One signature throughout this whole winter season has been the appearance of this Pacific subtropical jet. It's been unusually active, and it's showing its ugly head again. And you can kind of see all these clouds streaming up across Baja and into Arizona, into Southern California. And then, you've got all this storminess off the coast of the Pacific Northwest, and the next system is dropping down from Alaska, going straight south from there. And in the meantime, you see the opposite effect in the east, where we're in a ridge position, and uh, other than some patchy clouds here and there in a couple of spots, most places are clear tonight. And it got very warm today, in Texas. And we'll take a look at the 21Z map, and we've got 90s around the Dallas Fort Worth area. Dew point was sitting at 50, so that's not too bad. But 90 in Dallas today, low 90s. I can see a few 90 years, a 94. I'm not sure what city that is. And also 80s to near 90, even into Oklahoma. You had low 80s into Arkansas. So, very warm air is streaming northeastward, and that's going to set the table probably for some severe weather tomorrow in parts of the middle Mississippi Valley as well as the lower Great Lakes. So, we'll be taking a look at what SPC has to say. And in the meantime, here we are with the southwest flow just beginning. You can already see the isobars are starting to set up for what should be. You don't often see storms that take tracks like this, but with the trough so deep in the west, Joe, you got these lows tracking up way up to the north across Montana and North Dakota and even across southern Canada. There's very cold air. There's actually we've been so used to looking at Canada lately with temperatures that have been in the 20s and 30s, but it's actually running below zero north of this Arctic boundary that is setting up across Montana. So that's sort of setting the table for the possibility of some severe weather in the areas I just mentioned a minute ago, in the Middle Mississippi Valley to the Great Lakes. Know that we're going to see anything severe here in the east with this weather front. It's a sharp front, but all the real big warming is going to be well to our west, I think.
I'm just looking at a very stupid post from our dear friend Mr. Contino, who says he says the models seem to be getting worse under Biden.
Oh, what does that have to do with the price of peanuts? For God's sake, will you?
He said, I'd like to hear from Bill Goodman and see if there has been budget cuts. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh God, unbelievable! All right, well, there's one in every crowd, Joe.
Yep.
Here's the radar tonight. There's actually some light showers across southern Virginia. I'm not sure exactly why uh, they're there, but they're there. And the radars are quiet in the northeast. You got to go back, at least for now, west of the Rockies. There's some rain in Southern California. You've got some snow in southern Idaho. You've got some snow in Montana. And, there's just, sort of popcorn moisture coming into the Pacific Northwest now, but that's going to change. Uh, you're looking for an active snow pattern. That's where you got to go. I mean, there's no question.
Yeah, I know exactly when we're going to get an active snow pattern, Joe. It's going to be within a few days of the solar eclipse in early April. There's people say, "Wow, we were waiting all this time, and finally, something wacky is going to happen when that eclipse comes along in the first week of April. You watch, you'll see."
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that I did not know. We always look at the threat of convective activity, convective forecast from the Storm Prediction Center. Right now, they've got just a chance of general thunderstorm activity barely reaching into the New York City metropolitan area. Nothing severe. But I did not know that CSU, Colorado State University, actually puts out its own severe probability forecast. And for day 3, which would be Wednesday,
do you have a map?
Yes, I do have.
Oh, well, then, of course, let us share.
Hang on for a second. Let me get share screen. There you go. And yeah, take a look at this. This is CSU, Colorado State University, day 3 severe probability forecast, and they issued this. Actually, they issued this last night, 7 p.m., Monday, 26 February 2024, for the 24 hours ending 12Z, that's 7 a.m., Thursday, Leap Day, February 29th. And the probability for severe weather in the brown is anywhere from 5 to 15%, but 15 to 30% right here in this yellow area, which encompasses not only the New York area, but across much of New York State, much of west central New England, down across Pennsylvania, and into West Virginia. So if you believe this, with that front that will be moving on through probably toward midnight, Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, according to CSU, watch out. There may be some significant activity. It doesn't really show that in on the SPC projection, but I did mention the possibility on Wednesday night of some thunder and lightning.
Yeah, I certainly think we could see a thunderstorm. I just don't. Just wonder whether it would get up to severe criteria.
Well, we were talking yesterday about whether or not if we could somehow manage to break out into even a little bit of sunshine on Wednesday, that would help temperatures soar upward to possibly even the upper 60s to near 70.
Well, that I think there will be a break. There'll be a break in between what comes in Tuesday night, and now it looks like the front is coming in faster because you look at some of the latest runs. Most of the precip is done after 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening Wednesday night.
Well, what do you think about the transition to snow or wet snow?
It's a sharp front with a sharp trough, and the thickness, there is a decent shot of cold air that's coming down very quickly. I suppose it could end as some wet snow, but I think if you're looking for something uh, to whiten the ground, you're going to have to go pretty far northwest into northern Pennsylvania and upstate New York. I did notice, by the way, that Anthony Orr sent me a message and pointed out that Binghamton actually alerted folks to the possibility of a flash freeze up in central New York, which I think kind of makes sense because that's where that there's a pretty solid cold push that makes it there.
Oh, yeah. Well, even in the lower Hudson Valley, I mentioned temperatures on Wednesday 60 or thereabouts, and during the overnight, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, plunging down through the 30s. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if people wake up on Thursday morning in the lower Hudson Valley and temperatures were even a tad below freezing, maybe around 30. So it is going to turn much colder. And let's not also forget the wind, which will be a factor. I think we'll see winds gusting to over 30 miles an hour from the south ahead of the cold front on Wednesday, and then maybe gusting out of the northwest at 30 miles an hour or more when we get to early Thursday. So we've got we have some sharp changes headed our way for the middle to latter part of this week.
Now, with the precip that's going to start developing very late tonight, because if we go back to the radar and you look in the areas in Michigan and Ohio and Indiana, there's nothing here at the moment. But SPC does have a marginal risk uh, between now and Tuesday morning. So it's probably going to be after midnight. They have a marginal risk of severe weather for southeastern Michigan, much of Indiana, northern Kentucky, and western Ohio. And there's also general thunderstorms being indicated in the Pacific Northwest, southeastward into Utah, western Colorado, and into southern Wyoming, which is pretty interesting. Now, this is for tomorrow. They did bulge this a bit. This is for the daytime tomorrow into Wednesday. They have a slight risk of severe weather from northernmost Arkansas, northeastward to the southern half of Michigan, much of Illinois and Indiana, northwestern Ohio, and they've now pushed the marginal risk into to cover western Pennsylvania and the northern half of West Virginia. That also goes down, cuts across the state of Kentucky, and that is there's a corresponding 2 to 5% tornado risk inside much of that slight risk zone. And day three, which is Wednesday into Thursday. Now they they've got you just showed what CSU has. The SPC just has a general thunderstorm area. Now they have bulged this up now into upstate New York, but they don't have it, covering just about all of Pennsylvania. They do not have any convective uh, they're not forecasting any convection along the immediate coastal plain. So they disagree, I guess, with what the CSU says.
It'll be interesting. And again, I think a lot will depend upon the speed of the front and also whether or not, after it gets dark Wednesday night, maybe any convection will die out quickly. But again, something moving as quickly as what the models are suggesting also indicates that with a fast forward movement, there could be quite a bit of lift right ahead of or the immediately in front of the front, which again could lead to some convective activity. Severe, I don't know. Again, CSU maybe a little bit more bullish on that, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little lightning or heard some thunder, late Wednesday or Wednesday night.
Cut the politics out, Tom. Okay, you've been warned. So here we go. The WPC precip forecast. I'll do the west, Joe. You can do the east. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So in the west, if you're in the Sierra Nevadas, you're getting clobbered. I mean, look at they've got 5 to 10 inches of liquid precip equivalent over the next 7 days. No wonder they're going for 5 to 12 feet.
It makes sense, right? You use your standard 10 to 1. Although at those high altitudes, obviously it's going to be more like 15 or maybe even 20 to 1, which means a lot of puff and also a lot more in terms of snow accumulation amounts.
Uh, is my mic okay, chat board? Can you let me know, please? Because I'm showing my mic is fine. Uh, so if you're having some trouble, I don't know what to tell you, but uh, Susan Gordfa says yes. I'm a bit dim. It says. Okay, well, I've been told that I've been told as much. I've got everything up all the way up. So you know what? If it drops off, it's because maybe I bring my head back a little bit. So I'm just going to keep myself very close to the microphone, and this way, it will avoid problems. But yeah, look at the big precip amounts. Also, coast north of San Francisco, all the way up to Seattle, and also in the Cascades. Now, there's a couple of storms in play here, so it's we're combining a couple of them, but we're talking about a ton of precip there. Several inches also possible up in Idaho and the Northern Rockies there, and into western Montana, western Wyoming, down into Utah, and even some hefty precip amounts showing up in Arizona of up to an inch, 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter. Meanwhile, Joe, why don't you tell us what's going on in the East?
Well, the main weather maker over the next several days is going to be the cold front that will be working its way into and through the Northeast come late Wednesday into early Thursday. The amount of precipitation certainly does not compare anywhere near what they're going to be seeing from the disturbances or the atmospheric river, if you will, out in the far west. But for example, in New York, it looks like we could pick up anywhere from a half to 3/4 of an inch of rainfall, some quickie shower threats that will be coming through with that front. And again, maybe a little convection with some thunderstorm activity. And further back to the west, over in western sections of Pennsylvania, down into portions of West Virginia, we see an area that could exceed an inch, maybe 1 to 1.25, maybe even approaching 1.5 inches in those areas of western PA, Pittsburgh, Erie, for example, and down into West Virginia, Wheeling, West Virginia. Generally speaking, all across the swath of the eastern United States, the places that are under the Eastern time zone, we'll be seeing those kind of numbers. And then down in the Southland, down toward the central Gulf Coast area, which encompasses portions of the panhandle of Florida, also coastal sections of Alabama, Mississippi, and eastern sections of Louisiana, we may be looking at amounts much greater, 2.5, maybe even 3 inches of rain. And of course, this is an area that when we moved into the fall and winter season was in deep trouble because they had some very significant drought conditions. They still, believe it or not, have in a few places droughty weather or dry conditions, but a lot of those severe drought has been wiped away by all the rain, all the precip that they've seen so far this winter season. And again, more to come, it would appear, over the next 7 days, according to WPC. And up in the nation's midsection for Iowa, Minnesota, a part of western sections of Wisconsin, a modest amount of precipitation, anywhere from a half to maybe an inch of rainfall. And you say to yourself, well, it's February, so what does that translate into snow? And you want to know what? It doesn't translate into snow because it's been just too darn warm, although it will be turning much colder. So maybe a switch over to some snow, in the next 24 to 48 hours in the western Great Lakes area, but nothing to write home about. I mean, normally at this time of the year, you hear about places in, Wisconsin and Minnesota and Iowa and even parts of the Dakotas with snow being measured not in inches, but even sometimes in feet. That ain't the situation this winter. This winter seems nobody, except for the high terrain areas out in the far west, nobody for the most part is seeing much in the way of the white stuff. And just about everybody has been running below normal in terms of snowfall this winter season. Joe?
Well, the 72 per hour probability of at least four. I was trying to get the digital forecast map to come up, but unfortunately, for some, they must be updating it because sometimes when they update the map in the evening hours, it winds up uh, that I can't pull anything down until you know the the data is all uploaded. So we'll try to come back to it a little later. But this is the probability of at least four. And this only takes us, by the way, through 0Z Friday. So this takes us to 7 p.m. Thursday evening. High probabilities in the Cascades, uh, 50 to 70% probabilities in the Sierra Nevadas. Remember, the California winter storm watches that are up are from Thursday through Sunday. High probabilities up in Idaho, western Wyoming, the western half of Colorado. We also have higher probability for at least four up in northeastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota, as well as the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And for those of you who want, there's a spot to go to, Joe. If you go north of Syracuse on up I-81, there's an area here where they're indicating a 50% chance for at least four. Okay. It's not a very big area, but they do have a 50% chance of at least four there, probably with that when the front goes by and where it changes over. And then they'll probably get some lake effect later Wednesday night, early Thursday morning when that front goes. And on the long range, if you look out in the west, we showed this yesterday. Usually when you get past day three, you don't see probabilities higher than 30 to 50%. Sometimes you'll see 50 to 70, but they've already got, areas of 90% or higher probability for at least 3 inches. And you're talking about places that are forecasting up 5 feet or more. So in the long range, this is for Thursday into Friday. Friday into Saturday, it's virtually in the same place, and you see a near 100% chance in the Sierra Nevada. So if they're talking for at least three, and they got 100% up there, it's going to be far higher than that, obviously. And Sunday, this is Saturday into Sunday morning, loaded still in California. Also, some high probabilities in eastern Utah, western Utah, eastern Nevada, western Utah, western Wyoming, and some of the mountaintops up in Idaho. And of course, there's no point in looking in the east because there's just nothing there. And then Sunday into Monday, the snow actually moves eastward into the northern, the western parts of the northern and central plains. So 10 to 30% chance of the light green and 30 to 50 in the darker greens, and you see the blues in Colorado of 50 to 70 being indicated there. Here's the GFS surface, and I'm using the radar here because I just want to show. During the overnight, you see what bubbles up across Ohio and Michigan down into Kentucky, and that's where we've got the marginal risk of severe weather. The low is actually way up in southern Minnesota, or at least one low is, and there's some snow up there, northeastern North Dakota northward. some snow in western Colorado. Not a whole lot going on in the west at this stage. And then this is Tuesday afternoon. This is uh, by 7 p.m. There's already some showers and even a couple of heavier showers being indicated by the GFS radar presentation. A new low now forms in northern Illinois. And you also, if you look closely, you can see the isobars on this map are getting tighter and tighter Tuesday night and Wednesday. So those go by. This is Wednesday morning, and with the front coming in faster, Joe, that kind of lessens the possibility that there'll be some breaks. If this radar presentation is right, the breaks are they're not going to be much. There's not going to be much in the way of breaks in the cloud cover on Wednesday, and then you've got this, line of heavy showers and maybe a thunderstorm or two rolling through. This is at 7 o'clock Wednesday evening. The back edge is already to western New Jersey, and then it's gone.
Yeah, it's
You think it's too fast?
it, yeah, well, yeah, I think it might be a bit on the fast side. I think models, from a personal experience, when they rush a system through, usually it actually tends to fall behind at least by a few hours. So maybe this is a tad on the fast side, but still not not a very encouraging overall pattern
No.
for anybody. Um,
And I switched.
Tom
I switched.
Contino, Tom Contino on the chat board mentioned a few minutes ago was saying that, well, Joe Rayo said that there were snowless winters in the 70s. I never did say that. No winter, at least in Central Park, has ever been snowless. However, um, in 1972-73, we had 2.8 inches of snow, which was beaten last year by the 2.3 inches that fell for the winter season. If you're looking for something that parallels what we're going through now, we've never had two consecutive winters at Central Park where the amount of snow has been in the single digits. In other words, less than 10 inches. We still need 2.5 inches to make it to 10 inches for this particular winter season. And still, as discouraging as the pattern looks now, we've still got an entire month of March and even early April to look at. And, to get 2.5 inches, it may be tough, but I don't think it's totally or completely impossible. The two other times that we have had something similar to this happen, Joe, looking at Central Park, was the winter of '89, where we had 5.5 inches total at Central Park, followed up by the winter of 1990, 13.4 inches. And then, about 10 years later, the winter of '98, which I believe was an El Nino winter, 5.5 inches again. And then 1999, 12.7. So we have seen in at least fairly recent years, at least over the last, within the last 40 years or 35 years, we have seen back to back winters which have really been pitiful. And this probably falls into that category of pitiful with for the snow lovers. But we'll see what we get for the remainder of the winter season. Again, from the meteorological standpoint, winter is over at the stroke of midnight Thursday night, early Friday morning. That's the end of February. We move into March, and meteorological winter, the three coldest months of the year, will be behind us. And it certainly what do we have? At 3 months, 4 weeks per month, 4, 8, 12. I would have to say that out of the 12 weeks, we had exactly maybe 2 or 2.5 weeks of winter, and the rest of that time, the 9.5 or 10 weeks, you probably could categorize it as spring, and in some cases, it almost seemed like late spring or early summer with the incredibly warm temperatures that we saw this year.
Well, the extremes are getting more extreme on both ends. 12-foot snows in the mountains of California and 12 snowflakes in parts of the in the eastern U.S. And take a look at this upper air, which goes out for the next 16 days. So it takes us to about March 12th or so. And, we've got This is going to Sunday. Now that trough already lifted out, and of course we're getting to the southwest flow. But look at what's going. Look in the west because this has been pretty much the persistent pattern that we've seen much of the time this winter. The Alaskan trough to the west coast, one after another. And here comes, this is a big one that's coming down at the end of the week. That's a deep upper low that's diving southward along the west coast and comes in Oregon. And then that goes out, and another trough sets up behind that one. And another trough sets up behind that one. We are now at March
That's what's killing
11th.
us.
Yeah,
That's what's killing us. The trough that's over the western U.S. and Alaska that has been there since this season, since the winter season has begun, and has not allowed any kind of a buildup of really cold air and to spill into the central and eastern states. We got to get rid of that. And you know when we're going to get rid of it? We'll probably get rid of it in May or June.
correct. You're right. And I mean, if we just to look at this, this is on March 10th when there's a an upper low in Hudson Bay that comes down into near James Bay and moves into southeastern Canada that swings a trough through the eastern part of the United States. Okay, but the problem is with this deep trough in the west, if you follow the flow, I mean, this is what's going on in the west. If you look up in Western Canada, you're going to have a southwest flow. There's no, whatever cold air you're getting is you're just kind of getting that what I've been calling all winter long, that low quality cold air. There's no cross polar flow. There's no direct feed coming in from the Arctic regions coming straight down into the eastern United States because you've got this trough that just been persistent from Alaska down the west coast, and it doesn't want to go away. The models show it going away, it doesn't go away. It comes right back. And I'm out to March 13th here, Joe. And I mean, I don't know what you're going to do with this. We're almost to the middle of March here on the long range, and that Alaskan trough is still there. I mean, you just get maybe little glancing blows of cold air that come down into eastern Canada that maybe cool you down at low levels, but barely make you cold enough. And the main flow is west or west southwest. You're not going to do it. So look, if you're looking for a window of opportunity, as I like to call them, they're not going to happen in the first. They're not going to happen in the first half of March. You're going to have that Alaskan trough has got to go, and I just don't know whether it will. The law, if you go, if you look at the GFS, I looked at it from yesterday because I don't think the new one is out. Uh, Once a day, it goes out to 384 hours. That's the 0Z. I don't think it's out far enough yet. Um, on the ensemble anyway. So let's take a look at that. Uh, this is 18, so we got to go back to 0Z. It's out to 468 hours. Okay. So here it is at 384 hours on the ensembles, right? So what do you got? Draw from Alaska down to the West Coast, you know, upper, higher than normal heights sitting up in eastern Canada. And, at best, you want to call it a westerly flow. It's more like a west southwest flow. Let's run it through as far as I have it. Okay, by March 16th, the Alaskan trough weakens, but there's still troughing there, and you still have ridging in the eastern part of the United States. So we're now at March 16th. So if you again, between now and the middle of the month of March, there ain't no window.
Nope. No, that's it.
No, there is no
Well,
window.
all the way to all the way to St. Patrick's Day.
Um,
So it's time to sow your peas by the 17th of March, and by that time, I've said this before, Joe. I consider St. Patrick's Day not the cutoff, but anything after St. Patrick's Day. If you're hoping for a big snowfall, the chances or the odds drop rapidly after the 17th of March.
it's got to be perfect. I mean, after the middle part of March, it has to be an unusual and almost perfect setup in order to pull it off. And it's the kind of thing that happens maybe once every 10 or 12 years. And especially as you start getting toward the end of March and going into the beginning of April. So, and that's it. Is it impossible? No.
No.
Is it likely? No. Would I put money on it? Not my money. I might put your money on it, but I'm not going to put my money on it.
42 years ago, April the 6th, 1982, New York, blizzard conditions. And it was truly a blizzard. We had thunderstorms, we had temperature, and the most amazing thing about that was not so much that New York City ended up with 9.5 inches of snow during that day, the 6th of April. What amazes me is the prolonged period of cold weather that followed in the wake of that storm. Everybody always says, Joe, well, if it snows heavily in March or early April, it's usually gone within a day or so because it warms up and melts away real quick. Not in 1982. In 82, we had, I think, 2 or 3 days where the temperatures were struggling under bright sunshine after the big snow to make it much above the mid 30s. And the Yankees were supposed to have opening day on April the 6th, 1982. When they finally got around to playing, they didn't get around to playing until the following Sunday, which was Easter Sunday, April the 11th, because it took the ground crew that long with the cold temperatures and the snow simply not melting very fast to get rid of the snow, to get the field in shape. Oh, and P.S. The Yankees played the White Sox on Easter Sunday, first time they ever had an opening day with a doubleheader, and the Yankees lost both games on Sunday
Right.
of 1982. But you
Well,
see, sometimes you get these oddities, these anomalies. That certainly was an anomaly for me. Not so much the snow, although 9.5 inches on April the 6th is very unusual. But in the days after that, it just was incredibly cold, windy. It really felt more like mid to late winter with the aftermath of that storm in '82. For those of you who remember that,
I wasn't here for that.
oh, you were down south.
I had just moved.
Oh God, Joe,
I
you
had
missed.
I I had just moved,
You know,
and
you
oh,
missed the two most amazing storms,
yeah,
winter
but
storm,
Joe,
the
I made
82
up for
storm,
it.
and then the megalopolitan blizzard in February of '83.
I know, but I also made up for it in a big way living on Long Island during the 2000 to 2020 period. So
Right.
I'm not I'm not complaining.
And we all enjoyed the blizzard of '96. I know you enjoyed working your what off, and then having the guy who normally would work in the afternoon coming in, and the first thing he did was go for the food court.
Yep, story of my career. All right, we're at
This
84
man worked his
likes.
this man worked his head off, ladies and gentlemen.
I did.
I personally
I
will vouch.
and
He
my
was
four
he was
wheel and my four-wheel drive that night when I was driving to the hotel died.
yeah.
So I had to deal with that as well.
And then the guy who is coming in to spell him, instead of going into the weather office and saying, "What can I do to help?" and "How do you feel?" and boy, it must have been really rough. The first thing he did after taking off his coat was go into the break room to see what food there was, so he can stuff his face with food before even looking at the maps and even deciding what he's going to talk about.
I
And this
got
poor
there.
guy,
I got there. I was on. You go on YouTube. YouTube's got
yeah,
the opening show that when we first went on at like 9 in the morning or wherever it was. I got there as the first flakes fell. I didn't when I got home. I drove in it on the way home the next day. 'Cause it started at about 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. It didn't
no,
end.
Tom, hold on, Chad. No, I'm not talking about Norm Dvoskin. Norm Dvoskin would not do that to Joe Cioffi.
No, Norm was there. Norm was there helping me out. So,
Yes, yes.
um, there was. So I got there at 9 in the morning. I mean, I got there at 8, a little after 8 in the morning. The first flakes when I left my house. The first flakes started to fall. By the time I got to Woodbury, there was an inch on the ground, and I was on the air basically from 9 o'clock in the morning until I don't know, maybe about 11 p.m. or so. And I went to sleep for about 3 or 4 hours and then came back because we were back on at 6 a.m. and I was on all day until about 4 o'clock when I was able to go home. And because then somebody finally showed up. The whole story about that was, by the way, that he was not, they couldn't find him. They could not find him. He holed himself up in Montauk and wasn't answering the phone. Well, in those days you didn't have mobile phones, but that was that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I got a lot of airtime out of it, so it was good. I had a, I it was a wonderful experience. So,
Oh
you know,
yeah, well we had been waiting for a storm like that for
forever.
forever, and we never thought that we would get it, and we finally did get it. I remember in '83, I was on WABC radio for like 15 or 16 straight hours. The normal person, the person who did WABC radio, was a young lady by the name of Rossa Bubelis, who went by the stage name Rossa K. And she actually said when they asked her, "Are you going to work the evening and night into the storm?" She actually said, "No, I'm too frightened." This is the honest to God truth. She said, "I'm too frightened." And I, who they really didn't like, they said, "Oh well, we're gonna have to deal with this guy." So and I was there for 15, 16 straight hours, and after working my tail off and collapsing, I fell asleep, Joe, in the studio where the ABC microphone was. And when Rasa came back, what's the first thing that happened? There's I forget who the disc jockey or the personality was. They said, "Well, congratulations, Rasa. You really did a great job in handling this storm or watching this storm." You know, you and I, Joe, it seems to me like, they say Schlemiel and Schlemazel. The Schlemiel is the one who makes the soup, and the Schlemazel is the one who spills it on him. In terms of broadcasting, we both used to work our tails off, and it was always somebody else who got the credit. I don't know. I don't understand
Pretty
why.
much,
You know,
pretty much. And there's a, I really don't want to tell this story. I'm not going to. Um, you know what? I'll save these stories for when somebody has me on their podcast after I stop doing this. If 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 I ever get invited to one. Brandon Doherty, thank you for hitting the tip jar tonight. Most appreciated. We're at 93 likes, so it might be nice if somebody can give us a few more likes so we can get to 100 to make us
I will
feel
say,
better.
I will say, the gentleman that we're making a reference to, the one who, rather, when he first arrived, he went for the food instead of going, directly to see if he could help you. Uh, in those days, I used to provide him with the forecast, believe it or not. And on the Friday before that big storm, one of the models had indicated that the storm might pass to our south, the AVN model. And I had mentioned that to him. I said one of the models is showing that, but I wouldn't count on that because I even said the I even used it on my 5-day forecast on News 12 Westchester. I said for Saturday, I said the jury is still out until we get. And he goes on the air late that night with Lee Tyrell and
Was it
who
Colleen?
um, there was another gal there, another news
Was it
person,
Colleen?
Colleen McVeigh. And he says on the air, well, the latest information is indicating that the storm is going to miss us, which the two of them like looked at each other and then looked at, he said, but what about the other computers? And he said on the air, the computers, the computers.
Why are you taking me down this
I don't
horrible this
I don't,
horrible road
I'm
of
taking
memory
this
lane?
down this horrible road because Miss Alhouse, called me in and
Oh, be that no, stop, stop, stop.
I had to bring my documentation to prove. I said, "This is what I sent. This is the.
Jack
I didn't say that the storm was going to miss us." Joe, you hit a hot button when you started talking about that. uh,
Janet Althouse gave, gave me a lot of support during that time. She was, I have to say,
she
she,
was a very good administrator and a very good, but
no,
she,
but no, stop it. Just stop it there. Stop
yeah,
it there.
but what I'm saying, Joe, is
St-
she called me in on the carpet saying, "What did you tell him?" Because he said the storm was going to miss us.
well, I I managed to repiece all, repair all the it wasn't anything you did wrong, obviously, but I repaired. Nobody watched the night show for him anyway. They just didn't. and they knew that.
I love Brandon Gravichov. Oh, Rayo, the negativity. Well, this is what happens when you've been in the business like Joe and I have been for 40 some. The two of us, we ought to sit down and write a book about all of the injustices that we have gone through, along with all the victories, the thrill of victories, the agony sometimes of defeat. Yes, there were defeats at times, and just the injustices that went on with us in our
Oh, and you know,
careers.
that's why there are certain people that will not be guests on this show ever. By the way, I appreciate everybody with the suggestions for all these people that you would love for me to get on the show. The problem is that I could send out emails to all these people and hardly any of them will respond. Okay. Because
Yeah, and the other problem is that when they say yes, like, for example, people here are saying, well, what about Nick Gregory? What about Nick Gregory? Nick Gregory actually said right after we had Alan Casper, that was a great show. I'd really be interested in coming on your show. So he said, when do you guys do this? And I told him, Sunday through Thursday, 7:35. We're off on Fridays and Saturdays unless there's an active weather pattern. And I said, we would love, Nick, to have you on our show. I sent that message to him back, I think, on Thursday. I've been checking Messenger, Facebook Messenger now. It's been like 3 days or 4 days. He hasn't, it apparently hasn't even looked at those messages. Does anybody know? Maybe he's off this week. Maybe he went on vacation.
it's possible. It's
So
possible. I mean, um,
I'm still waiting for Joe Whitty to say
well,
yes.
I was just going to say, you sent him you sent him an email Saturday 2 years ago, and he
Right.
still hasn't answered you back.
Exactly.
And that was one that he emailed you, and you responded and
Yes.
said, "Get back to me," and you never heard a thing. So you know what? The guests come when they come, and to be quite honest, there are certain people here that you're suggesting that I would not have on for personal reasons,
Rich
and
Rosmansky says,
that's all I'm going to say.
Rich Rosmansky says Audrey Punte, who, by the way, we know
She
watches.
watches this show.
Yes.
She
Yes.
lurks in the background. And,
So there's the answer to the question about why Nick hasn't answered me back in 4 days. He's off on a very well-deserved vacation, and I
yeah,
know he
so
doesn't probably
he's
want to
away.
look at anything on social media. I'm sure when he comes back and he sees my message, hopefully he will allow us to bring him on because we'd love to have him. He's a staple. He's been here something like 35 years on the air. It's amazing. Um,
Yeah, he's an up and coming talent, Joe. Jacqueline Baxter, thank you for hitting the tip jar tonight. Most appreciated. Let's do a little Briller Jeopardy, shall we?
Surely, I do believe I've got the Jeopardy questions for tonight.
And I'm not Tom Contina. I'm sorry. Ruben Fairchild wants to know why I don't want some people on because it's my show. Okay, and there are certain people for personal reasons I will not have on the air, and I'm not going to share the reasons at this time. One day you'll have to buy my book when I write it, okay,
Yes,
and just
yes.
leave it at that. So
Yeah.
there, Jesus,
Oh, there.
you want to get them on a show, get your own show. I don't know what to tell you. You just got to be patient, folks. I try to get guests. People I know it's hard to believe, but people do have lives, you know.
Oh,
So, it's not just oh, okay, I'll just show up because Joe and I are, we're not working, so we can, we do what we want whenever we want to. But a lot of these other people, when they're working, they got schedules, they got lives. They may not be available during the week. They may not be available during the times that we're on. So, we try our best, and we'll, every once in a while we hit a home run. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, go on.
early Jeopardy tonight. Average low temperatures in the month of February. Average lows for these cities in the month of February, and we'll start with one that's really not really a large city, uh, but it's on the list here. Wildwood, New Jersey.
I'm sorry, what are we doing? The average what?
Average lows in February.
All right, so Wildwood, New Jersey. Oh God. Hmm. So, because they're on the shore and at the same time they're very close to the Pine Barrens, and it's for the month of February. So I'm gonna say I don't know, 29.
No, that's much too low. Vincent Croce, on the other hand, with 35, is in snake country, as we say. And in fact, Michael Azera got it right smack on the nose with 34.
Okay, 34 it is.
And yes, Tom Contino Wildwood is in the Pine Barrens area, so they radiate like nothing else, like no other place in New Jersey. On the other hand, New Orleans, an old Joe Cioffi stomping ground, New Orleans,
You know what? My brain is like totally out of sync right now.
right?
New
Low temperature
Orleans
February.
in
Wah,
February.
wah, wah.
40, I'll say 47.
Too low. Maggie P says 50. Tom Contino 56, too high. William Hubert 34. Ooh, for New Orleans. Krishnapedia 55, double nickels, a little on the high side.
Leon
Uh,
says 51.
oh, that's snake country, Leon. So
All right. So, and Jason Barry said 50.
nope, a little
So
too
that,
low.
so then it's 52.
It's 52.
Okay.
How about Mary Richards' favorite town, Minneapolis?
Uh,
And the weatherman at WGM, JM, by the way, and Mary Richards' TV station was Gordy the Weatherman, if you remember, John Amos.
yeah, the month of February is tough because the second half you're starting to warm on the normals. So I'm just trying to figure this out in my head. Um, 20, 22.
You know, I when I see this number, I say to myself, really? Really? Is it really as cold as he says it is? No, that's 22 is way above normal.
Way
Way
above normal. All right, I guess I'm wrong there. I'm not
Brandon
having a good night tonight.
Brandon Gravashoff says 7. I don't think it's that low.
Tyler Fienga says 17.
Tyler,
Michael
thank.
Azera said 12.
Well, that's
12.
that's snake country right there. If
All right. So it's either 13 or 11. So I'll say 13.
and 13 is right. Minneapolis, 13 degrees. How about Montauk, which is not really a city? I guess it's more like a geographical point.
Montauk is so tough out there. That's just, they radiate like crazy. I mean, the other morning, West Hampton got to Sunday morning was 13. Um, hmm, I'll say 21.
No,
Okay.
too low.
Um, Tom Contino says 27. Mark
Oh,
France says 27. Maggie P said 24.
but Vincent Croce gets it on the nose at 33.
You know what? I question that. I'd like to know where that, is that at the lighthouse? Is that, at the dock? Is it in the village?
I don't know.
All right, what's next?
Compton's Pictured Encyclopedia is the source of the preparation for the questions and answers used on Briller Jeopardy. And now here's Art Fleming.
All those encyclopedias are gone now.
Yes. Compton's Pictured Encyclopedia probably went out of business 40 years ago.
Yes. What's left? What's next?
Central Park. Central Park.
For February?
Yes.
Um, 28.
A little too chilly. Close, but too chilly.
Uh,
Junior Ferrante says 35. That's too warm.
John
But
Melander said
Don
30.
Melander got it with 30.
All
Howard
right.
A, 30.
Well, that's
Maggie
that's
with
that's
30.
for that's the whole monthly average.
Yes,
But yeah, because at the end of the month, I think the normal at Central Park is like 46 and 32 is
right.
the normal high and low. And then at the beginning of the month, it's like 38, 26 or something like that.
And we have the bonus city, Caribou.
Oh, please. I don't know, 17.
Whoa. Joe, the skier just fell off the cliff.
Well, the skier fell off the cliff, well, 2 cities ago. Is it too high?
Yes.
I figured. Maggie
Are
P
you,
says 12.
are you a baseball fan? How many of you out there? I know a lot of you are baseball fans. I'll give you a hint. Ron Swoboda's number.
I don't even remember Ron Swoboda's number. I
Michael Azaro
worked
close with 5. Vincent Croce, congratulations, you got it with 4.
4.
4.
Boy, that must be something to live up there when the average low is 4. And it
Yeah.
could range from, 20 on a warm night to 40 below on a cold night. That's what we haven't seen in a long time, by the way. It's been a long time since we've seen one of these crazy big highs come down into eastern Canada, where it gets down to 30 below in upstate New York and in northern
Yes.
New England. That has not happened in a long time.
Long, long time.
Long, long time.
Well, the last time New York City even went below 0 was 2016. So,
Yeah, well, anyway, I'm talking about one with the Hudson Valley wind type thing.
yeah, with the northerly wind,
Yeah.
northeasterly going straight down, and.
Yeah, like right before the President's Day storm that morning, I think Saranac Lake got down to 52 below zero. Old
Right.
Forge got to minus 52 in upstate New York. I mean, that kind of cold. It's been a long time since we've seen that kind of cold. Oh, well, okay. I think it's time to say goodnight, right?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. 121 likes. That's good. You got to ring the bell tonight, which you didn't get to ring last night.
I did. I did ring it, but you kind of went over your head.
No, I heard. I said you got to ring the bell tonight, but
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't get to ring it last night.
Right.
Uh,
No.
The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description to this podcast. Use the coupon code winter2324 and anything you purchase, if you do, you will get
10% off. And thank you to Brandon Doherty and Jacqueline Baxter tonight for hitting super chats.
Can you hear my harmonica?
No, I could not hear your harmonica.
Yeah, they got all this sound cancellationing stuff software on these things, and you could turn it off, and I have it turned off, which is why you can't hear the harmonica. But oh, hold on, you can't see the harmonica. Let's see, but you can't hear it. So
I,
what's that?
I said I couldn't. I can't hear it.
Yeah, no, it won't. It doesn't pick it up. It just picks up my voice. Because you could cancel out all the background noise. I'd have to go in and change a few settings in order to get the
Right.
harmonica on there. Maybe
Right.
one of these nights.
I did
All
not
right.
know that. I did not know that on December 15th, 1965, Wally Schirra, who worked with Walter Cronkite during the Apollo missions at CBS, he was on Gemini 6A, and he has the distinction of being the very first and probably the last person to play a harmonica while in Earth orbit. He played, since they were 10 days from Christmas, he played Jingle Bells on the harmonica.
That's
I
interesting to know.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
there you are. Now you know.
All right. My life is better for it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow.
Night, night.
Bye.